Welcome to our Elixir Kitchen. We have an amazing class for you today, so thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jeremy Capone. I am the wellness chef, and I am joined by my amazing co-instructor, partner of the kitchen, Daniela Fiorini. Hello, Daniela.
Hi. Sorry I can't be there in the kitchen with you. So I'm Daniela Fiorini. I'm a dietitian at Princess Margaret Cancer Center, and then I have the wonderful opportunity of teaming up with Jeremy. I was gonna say once a month, but more than once a month, to do these nutrition and culinary demonstrations. And today we are sharing 3 nutritious and budget-friendly recipes that we think are perfect for an outdoor or, you know what, even an indoor picnic. I mean, if the weather's too hot outside, have your own indoor picnic. So they are a lentil apricot herb salad. The second recipe is a grilled pork tenderloin and fennel sandwich. Sounds intriguing. And the last is a refreshing pineapple basil mocktail. And before I throw it over to Jeremy, I just wanted to let you know that we know that cancer and cancer treatment can change the way your body digests food or how your appetite is good or bad. So there are some nutrients that you might not be able to digest. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll give you some options as well. But definitely, if you are in a special diet and are interested in some of the foods and recipes and ingredients we're talking about, talk to your own dietitian about that and see if it's okay, or your healthcare team. But right now, we're going to jump right into the lentil apricot herb salad.
Yes, thank you, Daniela. So yeah, we're gonna start with the first one, which is lentils. We're making a lentil salad. That's gonna be the bulk of this recipe. And what I like about this recipe is it's really more assembly versus cooking. So not only are the ingredients that we're choosing are more on the budget-friendly side, but even just from the cooking skills required, this is going to be much more accessible than some of your recipes that might require more cooking or pots and pans. Here we're just sort of assembling and putting some ingredients together. Did you have anything to start off with? I think I cut you
off. So this first recipe is what we would call a great meatless meal option, and it's high in fiber. Protein. So the lentils and the tofu are amazing plant-based proteins. And as Jeremy said, it's easy on the pocketbook or your budget. It's a delicious way to ease into that plant-forward way of eating. And the apricots and the cucumbers, which are high in vitamin C, help our body to absorb more of the plant source of iron from the lentils and the tofu.
Wonderful. So why don't we start off with the first ingredient? We're going to be using lentils, and we're, make it easy for yourself. We're using just canned lentils, right? So they're already cooked. All the work's already been really done for you. So all you have to do is open them, drain and rinse. Okay, and then when we're ready to add it to your soups, you can have it like as a little side dish and add some dressing. Or in this case, we're going to make a really nice cold salad with it. You can absolutely cook your own lentils from scratch. Those are pretty easy in terms of like the pulses in preparation. They don't really require any soaking. Red lentils take like 10, 12 minutes to cook, so it doesn't really take much time at all. So you can definitely do it, and you're going to save even more if you go that route, if you're doing it from dry. But even if you're doing it from canned, it's not a super expensive item. And they have these, again, really convenient for you. So I'm going to add that to a bowl. And I'm going to bring the camera down. Let's get right into the action here. All right, so we're going to add some lentils. So I've already drained and rinsed these. Just put them into a can. I'm going to go with 2 cans, but you can definitely, if you're making this for more people, absolutely like double the recipe, bulk it up a little bit more. Now the lentils themselves, I mean, the texture, because they're cooked, is going to be on the softer side. So that's why we want to choose some other ingredients that have some more texture to it, right? It's a little more crunch. So we went with some cucumber here. Again, pretty simple and just washed and diced. And then some apricots, which you're going to start to see in season. I found some really nice Niagara apricots here, and we'll probably start to see more of them soon. And this is a fun way to include fruit into your salads, which you probably don't see as often, but they add a really, really nice texture. They add a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of tartness. And then Daniela, like you mentioned, I guess the vitamin C in there as well, which is going to be super helpful for this recipe. So if you don't have apricots, or if you don't like apricots, or they're just not accessible, I mean, you can use peaches in this would be really good as well. You can use like nectarines would be really nice. So you can definitely switch it up a little bit. But what I'm going to do with the apricots is pretty much the same as the cucumber. Just give them a small dice. That way everything is pretty uniform in size. And you can, I mean, you can do big slices if you want, but I'm gonna make them a little bit smaller. And then, I mean, it adds a really nice color too. Like I mean, I love lentils, but they're not the most, I guess, pleasing ingredient on a plate, right? So it's always good to plus up the appearance of some color. All right, so here's our apricots. We're gonna throw them in here, and you can use dried apricots too. Like that would work in this recipe for sure. It would give you that apricot flavor, especially if it's out of season. But you like that apricot flavor. You would just use it less, right? Because you definitely don't need as much of the dried apricot. I'm gonna put some cucumber in here as well. And then we're gonna sort of plus up the flavor with some fresh herbs. Again, summertime, you know, it's usually pretty easy. If you're lucky enough to be growing your own, amazing. Here's a great way to use them. And really any herbs you like. That's why I think we put just herbs, a very general term in the title of the recipe, because you can use mint, would be amazing in this. Basil, I just have parsley here. I actually intended to use basil, but they didn't have it at the grocery store. And so there you go. If you have the same conundrum, you know, you can absolutely pivot on the fly and just use a different herb. The thing here is I like to be very generous. So this isn't your typical like lettuce, you know, based salad. But I'm gonna sort of get the green in here through a generous amount of herbs. So I'm gonna go for like a nice big cup or big handful of that parsley or mint, whatever you're using. And here's pretty much the base of our recipe. Now, originally we had some cheese to add to this, which is a nice way to, you know, add a little bit more flavor, a little bit of that saltiness. So we had some feta, but we thought, you know what, why don't we keep this completely plant-based, and we'll make our own sort of tofu feta. And this was actually a recipe. It was inspired by one of my previous students that had joined us, and he shared this really great recipe for tofu feta, which I've tried and is incredible, and it's going to be very tasty in this salad. So if you don't want to make your own tofu feta, no problem. If you like cheese, go for the cheese. We're just going to show you just an alternative, a different version. So we're using extra firm tofu. And what you want to do is try to get as much of the water out as possible, because the tofu itself is essentially like a flavor sponge. Okay, and so because it has a lot of that water, what we want to do is replace that water with a dressing, right? So very similar to how feta would be brined in like this, like salty sort of brine. We want to add our own sort of flavorful brine to this tofu to give it that similar feel, that similar sort of briny, vinegary, you know, cheesy feel. So we want to squeeze out as much of the water as we can. So I just have some paper towel here. And then we're going to just crumble it You can dice it up if you'd like it to be like, perfectly cubed, but I like it sort of irregular in sort of shape. And so I'm just going to crumble the tofu. And
so while you're doing that, Jeremy,
yeah.
maybe I'll just jump in about tofu, because I think there's still a lot of concern about having soy in the diet. And the thing about soy, it's a great plant protein. It actually has all the essential amino acids needed to make protein and to help build muscle. And when you look at the most recent research, yes, the molecules in tofu and in soy might look like estrogen, and they refer to them as phytoestrogen, estrogen from plant, but they look the same, but they don't act the same. So there isn't that concern that it's going to increase your risk for cancer. In fact, it has a lot of good plant compounds in it that can help us manage risk of different types of comorbidities. So I just wanted to throw that in. I know there's a lot of fear around it, and I'm hoping just knowing that will encourage you to try it, because it looks really good as part of this salad.
Absolutely. So here we have our crumbles. It already looks kind of like a crumbly feta at this point. But here's our sort of crumbled tofu. And now we want to add our flavor. So we're going to sort of add a brine to it. So it has this very similar feel to feta. And so what we're going to do is start off with some vinegar. You can add any vinegar. You can even add lemon juice if you prefer lemon juice. I like either white wine or red wine vinegar to this. So I'm going to give it a decent amount, a few tablespoons at least, because we want to kind of have it soak up as much of that brine as possible. In terms of herbs, I have dried oregano, but if you like, dried basil, dried mint, if you like chilies, like if you like a little spicier, you can put some dried chili flakes in here. You can even add lemon zest. Like, here's an opportunity to really just punch up with whatever flavor you like. Garlic, you can put some like garlic powder or something like that in here. It would be nice. I'm keeping it pretty simple, so just a little bit of oregano. I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper. I like the pepperiness and what it does with this tofu feta. So nice cracks of black pepper, and then a little bit of salt as well. Now this is great because you are in control of how much you want to add. Feta tends to be like a saltier cheese. So we want to get a little bit of that saltiness, but we don't have to make it as salty. So just a little pinch of that, and we're going to toss it up. Just make sure that everything is coated well in that brine, in that vinegar. And if you wanted to really absorb some of that flavor, you can store this. You can store this in a mason jar or a Tupperware, put it into the fridge overnight, and then you can use it the next day. That will sort of have maximum absorption. Otherwise, put it into the fridge and you can use it, pretty much right away, which is what we're going to do. I actually made some in advance. So I only made this like a couple hours ago, so it's not like it was sitting in the fridge overnight, but even at this point, it's going to be really, really flavorful. I can even like smell that brininess, which is really, really nice. So that is ready. So we're going to set that aside to top, and then we're going to make a quick dressing for this salad as well. And we'll keep it pretty simple. So I'm going to do olive oil, and we'll have equal parts olive oil to our vinegar. Again, I have red wine vinegar here, so I'm just going to use it, but you can use apple cider vinegar, lemon. So about equal parts, small pinch of salt, and I'm going to throw in some fresh garlic. You can definitely hear, again, use granulated garlic if that's what you have. And I'm using a rasp here. I know I've showed this quite a few times, but this little fine grater makes quick work of mincing garlic or ginger. So we have our minced. It's going to go in. And I'm doing this in a mason jar. You can definitely just whisk it in a bowl if you like, but I find it a lot easier. Just make sure that the lid is tight. Otherwise, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, thinking about our picnic and if you're going outdoors, I like the mason jar because I guess you would just put the dressing in the mason jar, keep it like that. When you're ready to eat it, that's when you would add it to your salad, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So great idea for a picnic to use a mason jar. Yeah.
For sure. Absolutely. Great point. Especially if you have like a more traditional, like leafy salad, you don't want it to get soggy. So yeah, great way to transport. With something like this, I don't mind if it's sitting in the dressing a little bit longer because that's going to just help to absorb.
Oh, good to know.
A little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, especially if you're using like a more delicate salad, transporting the dressing separately is a great tip. Yeah, for sure. All right, so we're going to add our dressing. And we'll do a little tossy toss here. Now, I guess one thing to keep in mind too is, we're talking about going on a picnic, and especially given the heat that we're experiencing now, it's a really good idea to pack everything in a cooler, ice packs, really to just try to keep the temperature as cold as possible. Keep your ingredients as cold as possible so that they last a little bit longer, because you don't want to leave your food out in the heat for too long, right? So
definitely. The maximum we say is 2 hours at room temperature, but that is even less when the weather is as hot as it is. So there are some wonderful thermal packs available, cooler packs. And like Jeremy said, you could just add some ice to it or freeze up your favorite beverage, probably, so that it'll keep everything cold, and then you can enjoy that beverage at the picnic.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so we've tossed up the salad, and now I'm just going to crumble on some of our tofu feta, which has this really, really nice briny flavor with the oregano and the pepper.
It really does look like feta. Is that Carlos? Is that Carlos?
It was, yes, it was Carlos. He shared his recipe was a little bit different. This is just an inspiration from it, but I love that you can sort of flavor it whichever way you want, right? But here we go. Here is our lentil and apricot salad with our tofu feta on top, and yeah, that's our first recipe.
So that would be about how many servings?
I'm gonna eat all of this, Daniela. No.
Is that you're gonna eat all of it?
Okay.
Okay. No, the reason I ask is I was trying to do some calculations. I actually think so. If we were just looking at the lentils, about half a cup of lentils gives you 8 grams of fiber. So we're looking at trying to up our fiber game, right? We want to try to get it up to 25 grams a day for women, about 38 grams a day for men. So getting 8 grams of fiber from the lentils, a bit more from the apricots and the cucumber, you're probably almost at a third of your daily fiber requirement just with this salad. But I will add, there's always that addition, that if you have not been eating a lot of food with fiber, to introduce it slowly. You want your body to get used to that amount of fiber, and then you'll have less gas or bloating.
And yes, so this one here would probably be like four servings.
4 servings? Yeah, okay.
All right, so there's our first recipe.